In this session, we'll try to understand what are arithmetic operators. In the previous session, we tried understanding how assignment operators are used to assign the values to a particular variable. So when you have a lot of data declared, so you need to perform certain kind of operations on the data. So usually we perform mathematical operations using arithmetic operators. So Java supports total 5 arithmetic operators, that is addition operator, subtraction operator, multiplication, division, and remainder. The addition operator used to perform addition between two or more variables. So you can perform addition of minimum two variables or you can add more than two variables in order to perform the addition of the values. Then subtraction performs subtraction, multiplication perform multiplication, division gives you the resultant and the remainder gives you the remainder operator. So now let us understand how these arithmetic operators are used programmatically.
Hey, thanks for watching our content so far. If you're new to Training Monk, we're the fastest growing technology training company and create content to help freshers like you to master the disruptive technologies like full stack development, AML, cloud, DevOps, etc. If you like the content so far, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon not to miss any new content from us. Like and share this video with all your friends. Let's build your career and the community together.
Let us see how arithmetic operators are used. So to explain that, so I'm just creating a new Java class and then defining this class as arithmetic operators and selecting the main method. So what are the arithmetic operators available in Java? So we have 5 arithmetic operators. The first one is additive operator. So this is basically used for the additional operation, and this is subtraction operator, multiplication operator, this is division operator, and this is modulus operator. So how these are used? Okay, addition operator used to perform addition of numbers. So likewise subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus. First let us see how additive operator or additional operator are used. So I'm just taking two numbers, integer number 1 and then number 2. Okay, so I can define two variables within the same line by using this syntax, integer number 1 and number 2, and then I'm using number 1 equals 100 and then number 2 equals 200. So I'm just taking them as numbers or two numbers, or you can use bigger numbers since we have used integer. And if you want to perform addition of this, so I'm just using integer result. Result is equal to number 1 plus number 2. So what this result will be doing now? Now if you can look at this, the number 1 plus number 2, we are doing arithmetic operation. So now if you talk about this syntactically, so now here, the left hand side you have some variable, right, is equals to, and if you want to perform an operation, so now we have used plus between two numbers, that is number 1 plus number 2. So this is what is one operation we are doing. So this in this entire instruction we have two operations. The first operation is addition operation, second one is assignment operation, right? So we are using two different operators here. How this will be evaluated? First, number 1 and number 2 will be evaluated and the resultant will be assigned to the result variable. So this is how the evaluation of the instruction happens. So if you look at the syntactical analysis of this, so the variable equals, so the first data that what we are using in the operation is basically called as operand. So the number 1 and number 2 are operands. So then plus is nothing but the operation or what operator are you using, and second is operand. So like that you can have multiple operands to perform your operation. So you will perform more than one, or more than two numbers to perform the sum of these two numbers, right? So now here, what actually happens here, the number 1 which is 100, number 2 which is 200, 100 plus 200 will be done, the resultant is 300, 300 now will be stored in the result. So how this will happen? So now if I print the result, now the result should come as 300. So now I'm going to run this. Let us see what is the output. Now the output that what I got is 300. So this is how the addition operation will happen. So now the subtraction. Now let us see how the subtraction will happen. So now the same result is equals to number 1 minus number 2. So now I'm using subtraction operation. So means the number 2 will be subtracted from number 1 and the result will be stored in the result variable. So now let us print this. What is the value that I'll get? So the value that what I get now is minus 100. So now 100 minus 200, the resultant is minus 100. So now the result value is minus 100. So let us perform the basic arithmetic operations, then we'll complicate this to understand more in detail. Now the multiplication, so now which 100 multiplied with 200 and then I'm printing the result here, 100 with 200 which is going to give 20,000. So now this is what is the resultant. And a very important here we are going to see the resultant number 1 divided by number 2 and then let me print this as out result and then so usually 100 divided by 200 should give me 0.5 but let me run this to see what is the output that I will get. Now we just got only 0, we did not get 0.5. This is what one of the very important point that you guys need to remember whenever you perform operation between integers. Now why it did not give me 0.5? Why it gave me only 0? Because there is a thumb rule that Java follows that it always see what are the operators or what are the operands or what are the data types of the operands that involved in the operation. If you look at number 1 is integer, number 2 is an integer. So whenever you perform any arithmetic operation between two integers, the resultant is always int. Okay, example here, if I see any integer, now any arithmetic operator you can take, okay, it could be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, whatever, and the second operand also integer, the resultant data type always will be int. Okay, this is what is a thumb rule that you guys need to remember. Okay, so that's the reason what actually happened. 100 divided by 200, this is integer, this is integer, so the resultant is 0.5 but it will give you only int, so the 0.5 will be converted into int, so ultimately it is going to be 0. So now the 0 has been given. So whenever you perform fractional parts, then definitely you have to typecast that into the appropriate data to do that. That is what is the type conversion. So we'll understand how do you do the type conversion without losing the data. But a very important point here to see that number 1 and number 2 always will give you 0. In this case 100 divided by 200 because 100 is integer and 200 is also integer. Now the question comes, hey, how do I convert this 0.5 or how do I get this 0.5 instead of this 0? The only thing that what I need to do is the second rule is if you perform any integers or reals, okay, with an arithmetic operation, the resultant is going to be double. So means whenever you do an arithmetic operation between integer real or real and real, by default the resultant will be double. So the only way that if I want to get 0.5, the data type that what you are storing also matters, right? So if I store it as integer, it always gives me 0. But if I want 0.5, right, suppose what I do, let us say I am now taking this as double, okay, I am just taking in another variable result 1 just to showcase you. Result 1 is equal to number 1 divided by number 2. Now let me print this out to result 1. Now let us say, now the result 1 is a variable of double and number 1 is integer, number 2 is integer. Now whenever I perform result 1 is equal to number 1 divided by number 2. Now what do I get here? Think about it. Do I get 0.0 or do I get 0.5? So let us run this just to see. Now what we actually got is 0.0, not 0.5. But why it is not giving me 0.5? Because the number 1 and number 2, these two are integers, so the resultant always will be int. So you get only 0 here, not 0.5. This 0 you are converting into double. So means what you are doing the typecasting. So the 0 is converted into double. So you got 0.0, not 0.5. Now the question comes, hey, if I want to get 0.5, then how do I do? The only way of doing it, you have to convert either of the data into double. Example, now I am converting this into double, right? So now what I am doing here, I am converting number 1 into double and then I am dividing it with integer. So now the first operand I am converting into double. So when it is double with integer, the resultant is going to be double. So now let me save this and then run this. So now what actually happens here? So now we got 0.5 instead of 0.0. So what I do, I'll just write this here, Control C, and then I'll put it here, and I'll remove this just to showcase you the difference between this value and then this value. So here I'll get 0.0, but here I'll get 0.5. So this is one of the very important point you have to remember whenever you perform arithmetic operation between two different data, especially reals and integers. Now let us understand the modulus operation, or what you call it as the remainder operator, right? The modulus operator is also called as remainder operator. So which always gives you the remainder value, right? Now example, suppose now I'm just doing result is equal to number 1, remainder number 2. So the remainder operator is always will be the percentile symbol, and what basically it will do, it will divide 100 with 200. So obviously the resultant is 0, the remainder is going to be 100. So you are going to get 100 as a result. So now let us do S out and then result, and then let me run this just to see the output, what actually we get. So now you got 100 as a remainder, right? So 100 divided by 100 remainder 200, always the division is 0, resultant is 0, then the remainder is 100, so we get the remainder as a value. So this is what is basic arithmetic operators. Now what actually happens if I have more than one or more than two operands in an arithmetic operator, or how if I have more than one arithmetic operation in a single operation. So I might do a combination of this, right? So now how these will be evaluated. So if you understand the operator, how the arithmetic operation will be evaluated is arithmetic operators will be evaluated from left to right. So when I say left to right, so when I say number 1 divided by number 2, it will be evaluated from left to right, 100 divided by 200, and similarly 100 minus 200, 100 plus 200, something like that. So arithmetic operators always will be evaluated from left to right, whereas assignment operator will be evaluated